Have any family members, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles reached out to you since that day in Ada County when the door was shut, Mr. Kohberger?
Yes, we've heard from some of the families. The families that we've heard from directly have all expressed thanks and support for the decision and feeling like maybe now they can start trying to move forward with their lives. We are also aware that there are family members who are not happy with the decision, don't agree with the decision, who have been voicing their feelings about that. And that's certainly their right. I don't begrudge them that. We cannot imagine what it must be like to lose a child, the way these families have lost a child, a sister, a brother, a friend. It's just unimaginable. And so we respect completely how everybody has their own way of having to deal with this and to grieve.
The idea.
You know, Mike, we had spoken off the air about, and let's make it clear, a quadruple murder anywhere in this world is no joke. It's challenging for the most experienced police department, the most experienced prosecutors, the most experienced investigators, and Latah County, Bill Thompson and his people, that's why they had the FBI. That's why they had the Idaho State Police. That's why they had all the help from all the federal agencies they needed, because I don't even know if they get murders, period. Maybe in his whole career, Bill Thompson, he may have had, 2 or 3 murders in whatever his 30-something year career was. So clearly, I don't think he was up to this. I really don't. I don't think he. Well, what are your thoughts, Mike?
I agree with you, and I'll tell you one other thing. I don't think the defense attorney was up to it either. I think that this is a product of two. I'll say the word, but I don't mean it in literal sense. 2 scared lawyers, one afraid to go to trial and lose, and the other afraid to go to trial, and her client. And her client winds up in whatever, the electric chair or in front of his firing squad or whatever. That's what I think was in the mixture here, and it came together with this plea. In their minds, everybody is those two, the prosecution and the defense, are satisfied that they did this. You know who? And I'm not saying that this because I think the guy is a great guy, but the loser here is Kohberger, because perhaps if this had gone to trial, if this prosecutor was not up to snuff, she could have beaten him if she was up to snuff. I don't think either one of them were. And I think that's why they took this plea.
Mike, she was a former Latah County district assistant district attorney who worked for Bill Thompson. So
okay,
there is some, incestual relationships here in regards to that. I don't mean that literally, but she did work for the Latah County district attorney's office. So, but not to make light of this at all, but this case had the element of everything that we work for in law enforcement: DNA, investigative genetic genealogy, digital, all the top new law enforcement inventions were used in this case. And
absolutely, the
evidence was huge. The evidence was powerful. The DNA evidence, as we said here, was a smoking gun. And, we call the people that follow this case that say we don't know what we're talking about, we call them pro-burgers. And there were lots of them, lots of people that felt that Bryan Kohberger was innocent and the government was flaking this poor guy. And we're not. One of, we said the evidence against him is overwhelming. And I wonder if those same people that are pro-burgers, now that they've seen these photos taken on the morning of the murders, not that could be used as evidence against him, but how do you feel about being a pro-burger now, and the fact that he said yes 4 times to the murder of 4 young students? You still want to be a pro-burger, and that's amazing to me. Phil, your thoughts?
Yeah, Mike, real quick, I know earlier you said that there would be no way to get any of those details had there been a trial. But if there was a trial, that would have forced the defense to show their hand and what their explanation for the DNA on the knife sheath would have been, why he was repeatedly in the area. The plea deal questions do evaporate with the plea, but do you think that perhaps whatever they would have tried to respond would have made the case even stronger for the prosecution?
It's possible. It's possible, but it's not certain that that would be the case. She might just simply attack the prosecution witnesses and not offer an alternative. That's one way to go. I don't know what alternative she could have offered to the DNA on that knife sheet. That's a tough one to get around.
DNA transfer or something like that. I think they were talking about, because it was touch DNA, and even though it was single source, they're trying to say,
Yeah.
that's probably the only thing I could come up with, that it was transferred. It was, perhaps someone else handled the knife before it was left at the scene.
Look, we all know the result of the OJ case, right? A strong, very strong case. And yet that guy walked out of court. So I say, Phil, that there would be no details. For instance, Bill and you were talking about where did he throw the knife? Okay. Let's say how did he dispose of it? That you're not going to get that at a trial unless the defendant takes the stand and is stupid enough to give that. So that's what I mean. You're not going to find out, for instance, the order of who he killed, if that's important. You're not going to find out details like why was he in the car circling their house that night and then surveilling it and other times. You're not going to find out the details. What you have is the fact that he was in that car, that his car was seen. But you don't have the reason, and you won't get that at a trial. The other thing is the defense attorney, very well, if she was skilled enough, could find, just as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of how I would attack each and every piece of evidence that you say is not the smoking gun, but the surveillance of the house. The guy went to school not that far away.